Hello everyone and welcome back to the Carolina Panthers franchise. Today is the Season 3 recap, as the third season in the series has come to an end, and it's the second season in a row that ends with a 10-6 record and the Panthers falling short of the postseason. We'll do a quick recap as I don't want to lump this into my offseason this time around. I would prefer my future offseasons to be just offseason oriented only, no recap, just free agency, draft, all that stuff we look forward to. So today is the recap. We will look at the schedule, stats, awards, and get all this stuff taken care of so we know just all the information basically about this season. And we'll recap it and talk about it along the way. But like I said, it was a 10-6 season. The Panthers finished second place in the NFC South. And this was actually the least competitive the South was during this series. Season 1 was extremely competitive, where we went 11-5 and did win the division. Last year we fell short, and again, 10-6 do not make the postseason. The Saints do take home the NFC South. One of our biggest problems this year was the NFC West. We lost to these three teams that are all going to the postseason. We beat the Rams, but we could not even come close against the Seahawks or Cardinals. It was a 3-point loss against the San Francisco 49ers. I thought this season had a lot of promise, and I definitely thought we would be a playoff team, especially after our 3-0 start. 2 wins inside the division, good win over New Orleans in Week 1, and then Week 4 happened against the Atlanta Falcons. This was a game where we had 5 turnovers, and this became our first loss to the Falcons in the series. And following that game, let me get back to regular season, the Seahawks beat us 35-7. Marshawn Lynch ran for 164, and their defense held us to a lone touchdown. We won our next 2 games, including a 41-point outing against the Cowboys, and then the NFC West came back, and we lost a 3-point game to San Francisco. Following that, after our bye, 2 more wins against the Broncos and the Chiefs. And then another tough game, the Cardinals, and we couldn't handle them there. We knew their secondary was going to be extremely tough, and they still managed to pick the ball off 3 times against us. After that loss against the Cardinals, we had a very easy stretch of games. It was 3 games we should have won, and it's 3 games we did win. And that gave us a chance to play for our own destiny. We controlled our own destiny and laid this egg in Week 16. The Saints beat us 37-13. And then with nothing to play for, I put in backups, and we lost again to the Buccaneers in Week 17. And those 2 games were our second 2-game losing streak this season. It wasn't like we had a bunch of bad stretches of play. It was, 2 streaks, and then just not beating good teams. That's the story of this team in Season 3. Good team, good roster, didn't play as well as they should have, and could not beat good teams. I have the wins for each team we played against listed right now. We went 2-4 against teams that made the postseason. That includes a split against the Saints, which was our victory in Week 1, and we also beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And that was in Week 11 when the Chiefs were around 500, or maybe they were at 500. And after that game against us, the Chiefs never lost again. So they were playing their best football after they lost to us. But look at this stretch. They were 0-4 to begin this season, and then you go 10-1? That is nuts. Perhaps Aaron Murray is the future in KC. Out of our 10 wins this season, 4 of those came against teams that had 8 wins or more. And our losses came against teams that had 12 wins, 2 teams had 13, 1 had 11, 1 had 9, and the Falcons with 5. If you look at all these scores, one of the things that bothers me the most is the fact that we only scored 30-plus points twice. And that was our Week 3 game against Oakland and our Week 7 game against Dallas. This offense should be scoring much more than 23.1 points per game. Yet, we're struggling to do that. And that's going to lead to some offensive changes in Season 4, because it's clear that what we did this season isn't working. One thing that did go very well for us was the play of our defense, especially in the second half of the season. It almost seemed like they got better when Thomas Davis was injured. A.J. Klein was playing extremely well in the secondary. definitely stepped it up the second half of the year. They were shutting down a lot of receivers, and Emilio Benjamin was a big reason for that. Trey Boston played well. He showed he can definitely be a full-time starting strong safety. Malik Carpenter had some flashes. Josh Norman made, I believe, 5 interceptions. And so basically the defense was above my expectations, while the offense was much below those expectations. We'll now move on to recapping the season stats, and this is another thing that's a major problem. I made a lot of bad reads this year, and I took too many chances that weren't necessary. We have a lot of talent on offense. We don't always have to get aggressive to make our plays. We have a deep receiving core. We have 3 running backs I like a lot, one of the league's best tight ends, and of course Cam Newton, who I know is receiving a lot of flack, although I definitely deserve a lot of the blame myself. 23 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. One of the things that happened too often this year was aggressive play calls and shots down the field on early downs. We don't need to do that. We may have some speed in our receiving core, but you can do more with that speed than just run verticals and take 50-50 shots. The running game definitely picked things up in the second half of the season. I didn't think we'd have anybody come close to running for 1,000 yards, yet Jonathan Stewart finished the season strong and ran for 1,007, 4.8 yards a carry, and 8 touchdowns. Cam Newton was second on the team in rushing, and these totals are very low. It seemed like we saw Jermichael Ivory and Troy Knox a lot more than what this output really shows. But what definitely is too low, and I know it's been low for every season in this series, is the running for Cam Newton. And one of the things I want to focus on next year is using all of Cam Newton's abilities. We need to get him out of the pocket, give him chances to run, but part of that also requires some better play from the offensive line. I thought our guards were a little bit shaky this year, and the interior pressure is very hard to evade, especially when we're a pass-first team most of the time. Perhaps next year we have to have more of a running emphasis. I was hoping for a breakout second season for Lance Adams. He did miss a few games with an injury, but he played most of the year, and he didn't put up spectacular numbers. The receiver who did was Donovan Ashley, who is one of the best used players I believe on the roster. Primarily as a slot receiver, he ran a lot of deep crossing routes. He ran the seam and attacked those safeties. Ashley almost received 1,000 yards. 58 catches in his second year, 7 touchdowns. That leads the team, more than double what anybody else on the roster had. Greg Olsen also played very well, maybe a little bit underutilized in some of those tough matchups against good pressure. We need to make sure we're focusing on those quick passes and short passes if we are dealing with so much pressure, which we did oftentimes this year. Kelvin Benjamin also had a down year. He missed, I believe, around the same amount of games as Lance Adams, and their numbers are pretty similar. But Benjamin had a problem with drops this season, especially deep. We took a lot of chances this year, like I said. Many of those were to Kelvin Benjamin in one-on-one situations. He can win those one-on-one battles, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't secure the football, and he didn't do that this season. Jermichael Ivory gives us perhaps our best receiving option out of the backfield. He was pretty effective on screen passes, had a number of long catches that were helpful on third down. Brandon Williams wasn't used very much until week 17, where he showed that I should definitely look to keep him around. Carlton Sanders and Akeem Hickson spent part of the season each as the number 4 receiver. Hickson became our number 4 receiver because he was playing well towards the end of the year. Similar numbers for those two, and it's going to be another battle next year to see who's going to get some snaps. Easily our biggest strength this season was our defense. That was ranked number 3 in the NFL for most of the end of the year. Luke Kuechly leads the way again in tackles, 119 on the season with 3 sacks, no interceptions. But we still took the ball away quite a bit. Trey Boston had 5 sacks, along with Josh Norman. 3 apiece for Melvin White, who was converted from cornerback to safety this year, and that experiment seemed to pay off. Emilio Benjamin, the rookie, who I put right in week 1 as the number 1 corner, did play well. He fills in the running game, and he had 3 interceptions and many dropped interceptions. Malik Carpenter came on strong towards the end, another good tackler, 2 interceptions for him. Thomas Davis, when he's healthy, he's one of the best players on the team, but he suffered 2 separate injuries this season and missed over half the year. Once again, this team got plenty of pressure. 13 sacks for Charles Johnson, 12 for Star Lotulelei, 10 for K'Wan Short, and 10 for Coney Ely. Now, again, this is a key offseason for our defense because of some of our free agents. Two of those are Star Lotulelei and Charles Johnson. After a fantastic rookie season as a kick returner, I expected much more from Carlton Sanders, whose longest kick return this year was 34 yards. But I think the blocking had a lot to do with that. And next year I have to look into getting better personnel on our kickoff teams so we can average better than 21.1 yards a return. Our punt returning wasn't all that impressive either, and I think we have good returners, but we do have to have better blocking on our special teams if we want to get those big plays and better field position. Now we move on to the awards for this season, and Ryan Tannehill was brought into Philadelphia last offseason. The Eagles went 15-1, and Ryan Tannehill is the league MVP. And in third place, one of the many rookies who played well, and actually 3 rookies in the top 6, Brian Torres, Addison Pugh, and Fitz Bowles. Chip Kelly is the coach of the year. We go to the AFC first, and Fitz Bowles is the offensive player of the year, and Lawrence Timmons is the defensive player of the year. Fitz Bowles is also the offensive rookie of the year as expected. Defensive is Marcus Powell. Best quarterback, Brian Torres. Best running back, Jamal Charles and Danny Woodhead behind him. Andre Johnson still going strong. Best receiver. Best O-lineman, Nate Solder. Best defensive lineman is still J.J. Watt. Best defensive back, Jason McCourty. Best kicker, Ryan Suckup. In the NFC, not only did Ryan Tannehill play well, but so did LaShawn McCoy, who is the offensive player of the year. Defensive is Darrell Washington. Offensive rookie goes to Addison Pugh with Falcons rookie running back Tyrus Hawkins right behind him in the standings. The Falcons had a really good draft, and Hale Rogers, their middle linebacker, is defensive rookie of the year. And this doesn't even show their number 1 pick, who was a pass rusher. But they also drafted DeMarco Riddick, a strong safety. He was very good. He was second in the voting. Best quarterback goes to Addison Pugh. Best running back, LaShawn McCoy. Receiver is Dez Bryant. Offensive lineman, Richie Hairston. Best defensive lineman, Charles Johnson. Defensive back is Deion Buchanan. Best kicker, Graham Gano. And no punter award, I guess. Forgot about that. And now we'll take a trip around the league. Look at the best quarterback rating, although they don't factor in a minimum number of pass attempts. Ponder had 3. 1 was a touchdown. So most yards this year goes to Addison Pugh, 47.91. Fitz Bowles right behind him. So many good young quarterbacks in this league, and even more now because of this draft class that just happened. 41 touchdowns for Pugh, 42 for Torres. How many interceptions? And I was hoping this wouldn't be the case. But Cam Newton leads the NFL. 24 interceptions. We'll go down the list here and see the rest of the quarterbacks around the league as Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger are still playing strong. Johnny Manziel has stepped his game up a little bit. Still some room to improve. E.J. Manuel, 28 touchdowns, 22 picks. There's Samuel Morrow, the replacement for Phillip Rivers. Kaepernick, Tannehill, Glennon, who got paid this year. An excellent touchdown to interception ratio for Russell Wilson. Down numbers for Aaron Rodgers in the touchdown department. Flacco, 24 and 23. Breeze was 23 and 6. Teddy Bridgewater, 20 and 15. And now we'll move on to the running backs. As Adrian Peterson leads the league in rushing yards, LaShawn McCoy behind him. Rushing touchdowns are the same 2 players. Now receiving, and here are all the 100 reception receivers, including Jermaine Kearse with the Chicago Bears. Torrey Smith, Jason Witten, Wes Welker gets 104. Here we have a rookie with over 100, Derek Glenn, a 6'5", 243-pounder for New England. This is a really good rookie season. Then there's Brendan Patton, Brian Hartline, Marcus Colston, and a bunch of players came close. Tyler Eifert's up there. Dez Bryant leads the league with 18 touchdown receptions, and look who's in second. Brandon LaFell has 15. Now we'll go to defense, as Koamisi leads the NFL in tackles, 171. Interceptions goes to Deon Buchanan, a big 9, almost double digits. Richard Sherman has 8. Let's go. Can we get forced fumbles? Phillip Gaines with 4. Did I skip over sacks? I probably did. Yes, sir. And they don't count defensive linemen in here. I'm not sure why, but sack numbers are down. I think that's just a thing with this game. Sack numbers are really small outside of the user games, where sacks are plentiful. And the most productive kick returner this year was Cordero Patterson with 3 touchdowns. Shane Vereen, Joe McKnight, and Doug Martin had 2. And punt returning, I see 3 there for Percy Harvin and 2 for Patrick Peterson. And here are all the playoff teams in Season 3. The Eagles and Patriots are the number 1 seeds. And here are the rest of the teams, including 3 from the NFC West. The Titans, led by a rookie quarterback, Lucky Wallace, as they went 13-3. Saints, Chiefs. We have the Ravens, Texans, Packers, and the Steelers, as the Panthers finish with the best record of all teams that will not be going to the postseason. So it's going to be us picking in the low 20s, and the Buccaneers will be one of the teams right ahead of us. And right now we have 9 picks in this upcoming draft. I'm a big fan of stockpiling draft picks, and right now we have 3 in the 4th round and at least 1 in each. But I don't think we need all 9 this year. When I look at our roster and the free agents we have, if we can keep some of those key free agents, I think we can afford to be aggressive in the draft and trade up for some premier talent. I want to get some game changers who can help us take the leap from a 10-6 team that can't beat good teams to a team that can compete for a championship. The expectations for Season 4 will still be very high, as this team is too talented to not be more successful. Before we get to the offseason, I will be making a video previewing the upcoming draft class, giving you guys my top 10 prospects and my plan at how I want to go about addressing our positions of need. Our needs will depend on how free agency goes. Our top 3 free agents are Ryan Khalil, Star Lotulelei, and Charles Johnson. I've re-signed a number of key players on this team, and I'm not sure I can continue to re-sign all of them. I may have to make some tough decisions, and how that goes will determine how many needs we have to address in the draft and how aggressive I can be with those early picks. I like to go get a blue chip difference maker, either on offense or defense. It depends on the opportunity. I like to be aggressive. I don't think we need 9 rookies, but we can't have glaring holes on the roster either. And losing Charles Johnson, Star, or Ryan Khalil would be a pretty big loss. If the offseason does go well, I believe I have found some difference makers in the draft that could make a big difference on this roster. And I'm also going to be giving us a new offense in Season 4. It'll have some similar concepts. Still a lot of pistol and shotgun, but the play calling and the design of the total offense will be much more tailored to our strengths. Cam Newton's dual threat abilities, and our deep receiving core. We also have some quality tailbacks, and we need to take advantage of all our strengths next year, because that's going to be the last season in the Carolina Panthers franchise. After Season 4, the series is complete. It's basically Super Bowl or bust, and this offseason has to help us achieve that goal. And so, that is it for Season 3. The season is complete. It did not go as planned, but hopefully we make the improvements necessary to take this team from where they are now to being a championship contender in Season 4. That is our goal. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment below what you think this team needs to do to take that big step forward in Season 4. Subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you guys in the draft preview and then the offseason as we move towards Season 4 in the Carolina Panthers franchise. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you next time.